What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Havoc Sports Podcast, episode 42.
Big 4-2, big 4-2.
Draft season.
Yeah.
Round one's in the books.
We should be more hyped than what we are, but
No, we shouldn't.
yeah, it was a night that we were
Won't
gonna
forget
try
it.
to forget.
We won't.
Wow. Yeah, it was a great night for drafting. If you had, if you were the Jacksonville Jaguars
Facts.
or the New York Giants, but there was a couple teams, including one of our teams, that a couple question marks.
Yeah.
But we got 6 total first rounds that we want to take a look at. We're going to alternate. Obviously, we're going to look at our team here, the Bears being the Bears and Patriots. I think we should start out with the safest pick, and it's probably the Patriots pick. And let's go ahead and hear it from Colton on what he thinks about the Patriots pick with the offensive tackle.
Round one, pick 4, Will Campbell. I felt like it was the obvious choice. It had been mocked by everybody. A lot of craziness happened right before the pick, and I was crossing my fingers hoping that one of the elite blue-collar defensive players, or offense, however you want to look at Travis Hunter, would slip through. But you go safe, you get Will Campbell. If he finishes as left tackle, I love the pick. If he doesn't work out at left tackle and has to play guard for his career, it's like a D pick.
Yeah.
At 4.
But I think the good thing is for you guys is you're going to be able to see a little bit. I mean, you got to see a little bit of the emotional side of Will Campbell. He looks like he's just glad to be there. He's glad he got drafted. Says he's going to protect, and he's willing to die to protect Drake May. So that's something you guys would like to hear too. So I think, like Mike Vrabel said, to get a safety blanket and a good cornerstone piece in Will Campbell, I think you guys will be pretty good for the next 5-6 years.
It's just
him.
the arms that worry me a little bit. Not to say, I mean, there are players that have short arm length that play left tackle and do fine. So you got to see what happens. Only time's going to tell. You don't want to be too premature on the pick. You needed left tackle. They technically drafted a left tackle. You just got to see if it works. And if it works, Patriots' offensive line really is looking pretty solid.
Right.
So.
I think, I was going to say, we were talking about it earlier before the podcast. Their starting lineup looks pretty solid for an offensive line that gave up a lot of sacks last year.
Drake May might be able to breathe. I think it was 52 sacks last year.
Yeah, so that's a good sign for you guys to have a new coach. He already realizes the problem. Already rebuilt that offensive line. Doing it through the draft now. But let's move on.
Best part of the draft.
Let's move on to the Bears.
I'm going to let you go on a rant here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know much about personnels and all that stuff, but this has got to be up there with the top 5 worst pick that I've ever seen as a Bears fan since I've been alive. Okay, and here's the thing. I wouldn't even been mad if we took Colston Loveland. I would have been ecstatic if we took Colston Loveland at pick number 23. You know what I mean? Like, this guy wasn't even projected to go top 15 in anybody's draft.
Yeah,
like, I just don't
definitely trade down.
Yeah, we could have traded down and we could have got more draft capital and saved up draft capital, but instead we take the guy that's projected to go like 25th overall, and everybody's like, "Oh man, yeah." Now, and this is what makes me mad is now all the Bears fans are trying to justify it. It's like, "Oh, dude,
you have to.
I'm looking at Colston Loveland's highlights and he's nasty." I'm like, "No. You go over there and look at Tyler Warren's highlights. He's even nastier."
Yeah,
like
Tyler Warren was definitely the best tight end in this draft.
I don't like the pick at all. You saw Tremaine Edmonds. You saw the way he was performing last year. He's kind of declining. You had Jalen Walker there. You had Mikael Williams there. You had Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan. I mean, any of those guys that I just mentioned, they're going to give you impact day one.
Yeah.
Colston Loveland will give you impact on 2nd and 3rd downs. He's not a first down guy. We have Cole Kmet. I don't know.
Slot.
And that's the thing. If we make him a wide receiver or something beyond those lines, because I was looking at his routes, they're dang good, right?
Yeah.
But there's just, I don't know. I don't like the draft pick. I don't see the vision. Ben Johnson did this with the Lions.
Yeah.
Last year with Jahmyr Gibbs, or the year before with Jahmyr Gibbs. So we'll see how it works out first. Like I said, I don't like it. But
yeah. What can you do, though?
I grade
You
it.
don't get to make
If I was
calls.
to give it a letter grade right now, I'd give it a D+.
I mean, that's...
I'm not saying F because I'm a Bears fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I am going to move into something that I actually think was worse than the Bears. And this was the Falcons. Falcons needed edge. They addressed edge. They addressed edge twice. I have no problem with the person that they took at 26. That is not why I'm grading what they did as an F. My problem is what they gave up to get pick 26. To get pick 26 and 101, you traded a second rounder, a seventh rounder, and a next year first round pick. What are you doing? In what world is pick 26 worth a next year first? You got edge. I hope both the edges work out for you. I especially hope that James Pierce works out because he does look like a good player with some locker room concerns. But you just gave up your next year's draft capital. So I hope you have a good season and make the playoffs.
And this year's. I mean, you're not going to get a second round pick.
You got to make the playoffs next year. There's no choice.
Nah, that's a bad trade. It was almost as bad as that Jacksonville trade.
And that's why I have the Falcons. I have no problem taking Pierce at 26. But the trade to get him is an F. F+, F++.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. James, like you said, James Pierce Jr., I feel like with all the locker room problems he's having, he could have fell in the second round. You could have traded your second round pick and maybe added a fourth round to trade up and get James Pierce Jr., but instead you're walking out with a one less first round pick for next year. So I think what they're basically telling you is with these two edges, I think we can win now.
Yeah.
But
I don't see it.
I don't see it.
Not yet. I mean, Penix wasn't playing bad, but I don't look at this team and go, oh my gosh, this team blows me out the charts.
They lost center. They lost their Drew Dahlman. I don't know. We'll see.
Outside
like I
of
said,
Drake London, no receivers.
No,
tight end.
Tight ends hasn't been performing too much.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
But I'm going to switch, and it's another trade, and I'm not even going to hit on the trade. I think it's kind of the draft pick in my eyes. I am going to touch on the Giants trading back into the first round and getting at pick 25, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback who didn't really hear much about him until, I would say, the draft combine. I mean, it was kind of like a Zach Wilson story almost. Like I was like, oh yeah, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are locked in at number quarterback 1 and 2. And then all of a sudden, Mel Kiper and all these guys are saying, hey, I'd be really worried about the Saints taking Jackson Dart at 9. I'm like, what?
I called that though.
What's going on over here? So I think the Giants did the right move, but at the same time, I'm wondering, like, okay, you just in the offseason, you just signed Russell Wilson, and I think they just signed Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Right?
No. Yeah. Giants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they just signed two
you have
quarterbacks.
Jameis Russell. and you have Levito.
Yeah. So I
imagine Winston and Levito get cut. That's my prediction.
We gotta have 3, right?
I don't think you have to.
I don't know. I just think it's weird that you sign Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal just for you to go draft a quarterback. Yeah. And they didn't really give up a lot. I mean, they gave up their second-round pick, their third-round pick, and a 2026 third-round pick in exchange for the first round.
It wasn't bad.
It's not bad.
Definitely not the Falcons.
No, you're losing a little bit of mid-round value, but at the same time, if you already got your quarterback in place, you just got probably the best player in the draft in Abdul Carter. I mean, you're not going to need much more in this draft.
No.
So, I think the Giants, they might have been better with Shedeur Sanders in my eyes, but Ole Miss playing a little bit of SEC schools, he might have a little bit more of experience in the fast-paced games. That's really the only thing I could see besides, because I don't know if you have the same perspective or not, but I think Jackson Dart, and if I'm looking at Jackson Dart's highlights, I'm looking at Shedeur's highlights, I'm like, man, Shedeur's just better. I think Shedeur's better.
I think what's hurting Shore is the cockiness. He thinks he's Dion without being Dion, the talent. I don't see much difference between them. I'm not sure. The Giants, I feel like Shedeur would have been better because that money value, the big city.
And they interviewed him. I'm pretty sure they took a...
Yeah. I mean, they interviewed both.
They
took
did?
long consideration to actually every quarterback. So, I don't know. It's not the worst. They must have liked what they saw in Dart. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
But let's move on to your last pick in the draft that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Josh Simmons at 32.
Yeah, we were talking about this guy at like 15.
Yeah,
what happened?
They got to steal. I mean, a lot probably they didn't want to take the risk on that injury, that previous injury. So, I'm not sure. I think when you're the Chiefs, you have a chance to address that and deal with that. So, I think why not? He could arguably be the best tackle in the draft, right?
Right. And I think
we know that.
When you're looking at it, there's a lot of tackles in this draft, and they're all kind of like they all got different type of perspective. Like I think who ended up taking Josh Corneley Jr. It was later.
Commanders.
Yeah,
Commanders took him 29.
So I mean, there's a lot of things like he's young, he's a project, but Josh Simons he's been playing for a long time.
I think without the injury, he's the best tackle on the board.
And that's what I was about to say. I think you take out that injury. I mean, last year he was playing phenomenal.
Yeah.
You can play him at left tackle or right tackle.
And he's still at a pro day, right? And I think he performed really well.
Yeah, he did.
So I don't know why you would.
And you already got Laramie Tunsil. You just got Laramie Tunsil. So it's like now you already have your left tackle and right tackle figured out for a quarterback coming off his first year. That's just two safety blankets that he don't even got to worry about. He shouldn't have to worry about now at least.
Yeah.
So let's move on to my last
This
picks.
might be still the draft.
Yeah, it was another one where we're like, we had this guy going top
13.
15. Yeah, we had him going 13 to the Dolphins. That's Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. He ended up going 27th to the Ravens, which is kind of scary just because of the fact that they've been beefing up that secondary with young talent. Last year they got Nate Wiggins. He's been playing very well. They still got Marlon Humphrey. Kyle Hamilton was probably a top 10 safety last year, maybe even peaking in the top 5 safety last year. So now you're adding another absolute freak of nature and athleticism with Malachi Starks with Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
And to get that at 27, I mean that's nasty. I mean you're building that Ed Reed type of defense there. You still got Roquan Smith actually, so you still got a Ray Lewis type figure. So that defense, they're figuring it out. But what I'm worried about with the Ravens is you saw Luther Burden, right? You saw Luther Burden and you saw your wide receivers. And after Zay Flowers, you saw your wide receivers and you're like, yeah, we don't need them. We could use somebody else. Yeah. That's just, it worries me because at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson, yeah, you have Derrick Henry, but you got to be able to throw the ball. Like we saw it with the Titans. You're not going to be able to run the ball, and Lamar Jackson's not going to be able to stay healthy the older he gets.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
one thing I do like and I want to note is Kyle Hamilton's finally probably going to be able to play some on ball or on the line of scrimmage football, which I am excited to see with Malachi being there. So, like you said, it's not a bad pick. It's honestly probably best player available by far, but. Yeah, you could have definitely taken receiver and boosted up that wide receiver room that needs it for sure.
They definitely can in the second round, but I mean, we're speaking on this on Friday, so we haven't even got to see the second round. It starts in about an hour or so. After Luther Burden in the second round, your wide receivers are
it drops a little bit.
I mean, talent-wise, it drops a little bit. So, I mean, we had Luther Burden going, I think
Dallas.
To the Dallas Cowboys in the first round.
Yeah.
So, having Malachi Starks, there's still plenty enough of talent there in the second and third round. I mean, we haven't even talked about like Jack Sawyer and those guys aren't even on the board yet. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of talent out there for day 2. I think me and you are both really excited to see our day 2 picks because, this is where most
Mike Green.
Mike Green's out there. But this is where most of our talent comes from.
Yeah.
This
is where your draft is make or break.
Yep. Because
it's not the first round. It's
especially
how do your late picks do.
I mean, how many times have we heard about it with the Patriots? Jalen Polk's a bust. Jalen Polk's a bust. Oh, we got Jalen Polk is bad. It's your second round pick.
Yeah. You never really hear about the first, unless they absolutely tank.
Unless they're Kevin White. Yep. And so, the Bears have been hitting on their second round picks. Last year we didn't have one because we traded it for Montez Sweat, but the year before that we had Tyreek Stevenson. He's kind of panned out well this year.
Yeah.
Will Johnson's still out there. Mike Green. There's a lot of guys. Luther Burden. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there.
Really
Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. I mean, actually, speaking on that, Shamar Stewart going to the Bengals is crazy. I mean, did you see that guy's stats? 4.5 sacks last year, and you go in the first round.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But
Mike Green's sitting there.
Mike Green's just sitting there with a smile on his face. But that's episode 42 for you. We kind of just wanted to touch on the first round. I think next week we're going to touch on our team's whole draft.
Yep. Give them a grade.
Giving every pick a grade. I mean, I think both of our teams have the same amount of picks, so it's going to be interesting because most of these guys are going to play for us. So we really enjoy.
When you suck.
Yeah, we really enjoy these times because these are players that are going to put in effort right at the get-go. But like I said, this is episode 42. We appreciate all the support. Hopefully your guys' teams have been drafting well and draft well for the next couple days. We hope to see you guys next week. Peace out.
See ya.